Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. How's everybody doing today? I'm recording this on the 4th of July, so no one's going to watch this. But it's okay, because like it says in the thumbnail, late movie, late review. Didn't even know I was going to go see this. I don't do holidays, so 4th of July came and I'm like, hey, I bet you there's nobody at the movies. And hey, A Quiet Place Part 2. And hey, I bet you it's going to be really quiet in there on the 4th of July, which it was. I was the only one in the theater. I actually love that. I love that quite a bit. And this movie is perfect for that kind of experience. Although, I guess seeing it with an audience being quiet is also satisfying. If you can find one that does that. But, you know, I'd rather not risk it and be by myself and then for sure it's quiet in there. So anyway, if you like the channel, you found this channel, this is the first video you found, whatever. If you haven't subscribed yet, please become a subscriber. Hit the like button, notifications, bell, share, blah, 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 all that jazz. So let's talk about A Quiet Place Part 2. There will probably be some spoilers in here a little bit because it's been out for a couple of months, right? About a month and a half, right? So here we go. So A Quiet Place Part 1, directed by John Krasinski, very well competently directed. Same as this. This movie is very competently directed. You know, the sleeper hit of the time. Everybody was talking about it. It's one of those movies that just, because of its premise, you know, the association to the actors being married to each other, you know, like just, it was firing on all cylinders and it got a lot of word of mouth and a lot of people really liked it. I loved the premise. I thought John Krasinski's writing was really great. I thought the acting was really good. It was just the stuff that was happening and me with my brain and a lot of other people's brains started going, well, why not this? And what about that? And And there was a lot of just things that you could do to pick apart this movie, that movie. And to be fair, like I've said before, you can pick apart most movies, but it was just one of those things because I was focused on the premise. I kept thinking, well, why not just do this and that and the other thing? But otherwise, I mean, I really did like it. I guess I just didn't love it as much as like people were freaking out about it. And I think that that's just how things work. I think people, they don't just like something anymore. They either don't care, hate it, or they fucking love it! It's their whole world! It's fine. It's good. It was alright. I like Emily Blunt. I like John Krasinski. I like the actors. You know, I liked it. It's fine. It just didn't end the world for me. It wasn't, the buck didn't stop at A Quiet Place. So when A Quiet Place 2 was coming out, I was like, yeah, alright. I mean, I know I'll see it, you know. Was I glad I saw it at the theater? Yeah. Didn't cost me anything with my AMC Stubs A-list or whatever I am. Would I have been fine watching it at home alone too? On this big-ass TV? Probably. It was a nice way to kill an afternoon on July 4th. It has it starts right where the other one left off, which has that going for it. It just completely progresses through it, and the entire movie progresses the way you'd want it to. It's a little fast, a little too fast. It ends a little too not even a little too abruptly. This movie just ends. I actually had to look up. I didn't want to sit in the theater for 3, 4, 5 minutes waiting to see if there was a post-credit scene because now we live in that world where everything's got a post-credit scene. So I went to the wiki really fast and like looked at it through the plot synopsis since I had already seen the movie and went, oh, okay, there is nothing here. Probably not a post-credit scene. So I don't have to worry about that. And watch somebody go, no, actually there was and the wiki was wrong. So tell me in the comment section what the post-credit scene was that I missed if there was one. But again, acting, solid. Cillian Murphy being added was really good. Cillian Murphy is I don't think people talk enough about that guy. He has been cranking out quality work in even bad movies that I didn't like Red Eye. The guy's always good. He's always on his A game, whether he's playing the Scarecrow or a guy who just woke up to an infected world to that great show on Netflix, Peaky Blinders. The guy's just really, really good. And I feel like he's here to be John Krasinski's replacement. They wrote, John had himself get killed at, spoilers. If you're watching part 2 and you haven't seen part 1 yet, Dad sacrifices himself for his family. But in the next movie, you kind of need another person to help out Emily Blunt because, well, you've already lost the youngest kid. Well, second youngest kid now, right? Would have been. But you got, she's amazing, but she's deaf. And that is, the way that they use that character is great. I'm just saying. And then the youngest, he suffers an injury really early on, and he's a young kid. And you got a baby and her. And so you need somebody else. So, I mean, what I would have think would have just been nicer is if at the, we think, it would have been cool if we thought John Krasinski was dead at the end of the first movie. Where you just don't see a body. Right? Something where it's just like, oh no! And then like, they're leaving and they find him alive. And that would have been a great surprise to like keep out of the trailers and everything else. And even have Cillian Murphy in it. That way people think he's taking over. But no. And I'm just spitballing just because I really like John Krasinski and not trying to take away what Cillian Murphy did in this movie. We do have Krasinski back at the beginning of this movie, which made it even harder to realize what's actually going on. But it was kind of cool to see the beginning of this whole situation start. I thought it was really interesting watching how they decided to portray how people reacted to seeing a great big, like, asteroid, whatever, something coming towards the planet. I thought it was... Everybody just kind of like... And then they kind of all quietly get up. And they all start going towards their cars. And they're all really calm. And there's no one screaming. Everybody's just like... Ah. Now, part of me thinks that that's brilliant. Like, that everybody is just kind of being like... Playing that guy in, like, The Simpsons. The running gag of, I gotta go get something out of my car, and they just kind of casually leave, and then you're... Arr! But then once they hit the street and people start to actually drive away, then it becomes every man for himself. And then the monsters attack. I find it hard to believe, and yes, this is a small town in America, but I live in a small town in America, all right? And those people would have been screaming, would have been going, oh no, 6 pound, 3 ounce baby Jesus, come save me. White Jesus, by the way. And I don't know why that's important that I throw that in there. That's what they would have said. 6 pound, 3 ounce, white baby Jesus, come save us, white people. I don't like where I live, okay? If you're new to this channel, there's a little something to know about me. If you're not new to this channel, welcome back to my hatred of my hometown. So I found it a little weird. I just didn't believe it that the people would be that calm right away, just because I don't feel like people are like that. Like what happened I can see why they pushed it back, some disaster movie, in the middle of a disaster. And maybe not wanting to show like how people actually were being when they were buying toilet paper and water and everything else not nailed down, and telling them to wear masks, and then showing them calm as a world-ending possible event is happening. And that's me just being a dick. Sorry, everybody. I'm being a dick on 4th of July. So, I mean, I really did dig this movie, though. Right off the bat, they have to go off the beaten path, literally. They're not walking on their already pre-made paths. They have to reach out, and forge a new trail to find safety, to try to find a way to get her cochlear implant to hopefully, the radio tower. That's what she's planning anyway, the daughter. The mom's just trying to keep everybody alive with the young baby there, and everything's really well crafted again, just like in the first movie. They're really clever people, you know, in this. They've learned how to survive really well, and given the circumstances that, you know, they've already have a special needs kid to take care of, I think this family knows how to think on their feet. I believe that they are like this. It's believable that they'd be survivors. So when they run into Cillian Murphy and his whole setup, I liked it. I liked how they were, you know, this is a guy that they used to know, and he's been through his own tragedy, which, you know, it's like the opposite of their family, where they're still alive and they have but no husband. He's lost everyone, and he's, you know, so he fills in the gap that they need. Not to say that she's going to fall in love with him in another movie, which I do think there probably will be, especially with what it had a budget of $60 million and made 195 or something like that. My favorite part of this movie, though, was how after the daughter decides to go off and get to the radio tower to follow the signal to the beyond the sea that's on the radio and try to get to the radio tower, he comes with, and how they're on their own journey. And then you have Emily Blunt, her character trying to go get medicine for the son, and the son having to stay back and help take care of the baby. I loved how they crafted all three of those little plots and kept cutting back to them, and none of the suspense was ever stalled. It just made you go, oh God, what's happening when we leave those people? What happens now? Like, it really flowed really well. The tension in those scenes all kind of happening at the same time really worked, and it shows again Krasinski is a really good director. So, and they do it twice, in this scene section and then in the end section. And it worked both times. One part that was disappointing, and again, I'll say it's the length. I think this movie could have been longer. I think that it's bold to be a 90-minute movie. There's not that many anymore. You know, big movies, especially popular movies, usually they'd be like, hey, you want to make this like 2 hours, 2:10? Go ahead. But he chose to keep it short. But I do think the story needed more. Especially when you get, you know, they talk about the elements in this movie of, you don't really got to worry, you know, like, yeah, the monsters are something to worry about, but the people who lived, like in The Walking Dead, like in every post-apocalyptic thing, it's the people you got to worry about. We've been there 1,000 times. But when we do finally see some other people, it's just quick and it's intense, but it's over as quickly as it began. And we don't get any more feel for the rest of the world. And maybe that's the point. It's a very claustrophobic movie, so why not make it tight? I just could have used some more. Same thing with what happens later in the movie when they start to reach their goal of the radio tower and they find some other people. That could have been a nice bit to flesh out a little bit more too, but we just get right to it. Again, that's the director's choice. I didn't dislike it. I could have used more of it, though. That's all. It's not really a criticism. I just wanted a little bit more. I wasn't like trying to get my money's worth. I already felt like I was getting my money's worth with the quality of the acting and the directing and all that. I'm big on story, and I wanted more of the world. And then we get the ending, which was a good, satisfying conclusion to what they were trying to go for, but they just end it right there. And you know that the way that they ended it, there'll probably be another movie, but it didn't have to end right there. It really feels like there should have been at least one extended end scene where the characters get to kind of appreciate what happened, instead of just being like, we did what we set out to do. The character, like the daughter character, did what she set out to do, and then boom, where do we go from here? And it felt like that it was the same thing in the first movie a little bit. But that being said, I was pretty satisfied with this movie. The experience at a quiet theater was helping. I could have used a little bit more story. It does feel like there's a little less to nitpick here, especially when they dealt with like water, when they finally brought up like, why don't you just be by the water? Well, we saw what happens, and it was pretty interesting. And I still really love the design of the monsters and how their heads are just, they're just so creepy. If they didn't have some cool design like that, feature to their physiology, they would just be, lanky black creatures that you've seen in like every freaking movie these days that has like generic alien monster, generic monster period. So anyway, Quiet Place Part 2 was pretty good. So if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. If for some reason though, you were like, how dare you talk about America like that on the 4th of July? Well, we can give you, and you somehow still watched all of this, you can look right here and get a new memory. So for those of you who did like it, look away. For those of you who didn't, look here, and we'll give you the last 16 and a half minutes back. Here's the movie. Here's the movie. No, memory I choose to give you.